The new NOH Modular Comper is a musical gate sequencer for chord accompaniment, where you can select and play from a bank of rhythms that are widely used in jazz, bossa nova, and pop. Let's bring up a simple jazz drum pattern in order to show how the comper works. I'm clocking this drum pattern using temps utile at 127 BPM, as you can see on the screen. The comper takes a clock that is 24 pulses per quarter note, which is the MIDI standard. You can see it also has a reset input, in addition to having a button to reset at the touch of your finger. This will be explained later on in the video, but the comper is compatible with 6 pulses per quarter note and also 4 pulses per quarter note. Now that the comper is properly clocked, we need to sync it with the drum pattern so that they both start at the same time. If you take a look at the meter output on the comper, which is right there, you'll see that it outputs a gate at the start of every new measure. In order to hear that, let's patch the chord gate output into a sampled piano chord. If we turn the knob down, the chord will play at beat 1, and we can clearly hear right now that they're unsynced with the drum pattern. So we need to press the reset button in order to sync them. Now, thanks to the reset option, we've synced the comper with the drum pattern. And hopefully it's more clear now how the meter output outputs a gate on beat 1 of every new measure. Now, the output right above the meter output is the 8th note output. It very simply triggers 8th note, but the subtlety is that it makes the difference between swing rhythms and straight rhythms. Right now we're in a swing rhythm, so you can see the 8th note is uneven and has the shuffle feel. Now, the third output to look at is the bass output, which is another gate sequence that simulates a humanized bass pattern that matches the style of the chord patterns that's being outputted above. Right now we're in a swing pattern, so the bass will imitate a walking bass, which is very prominent in jazz. Now, the humanized feel from that bass pattern is taken from the random variations that the comper builds on top of that bass. Now, the last but not least output to look at is the main one, which is the chord output, and links to the knob right above it. Changing the knob position will change the rhythm of the chord. The way the comper organizes the chord patterns is that the first half of the knob is used for swing rhythms, while the second half is for straight. Later in the video there'll be an example with straight rhythms. But the cool thing is that the knob has a dedicated CV input that will add on top of the position of that knob in order to automate the chord selection and sequence them. So we've now explained all 4 outputs on a very basic level, in addition to the clock, reset, and CV inputs. Let's put the comper to its very basic rhythm in order to explain a very cool aspect of the comper, which is its randomization option. You can see there's a button on the front panel in addition to an input socket, and when pressed it will randomize fully the next measure. Now, the cool thing is that the randomization is quantized on 8th notes, whether it's swung or straight, which means that whatever you randomize, it will always be a generative sequence that works within the feel of the music. Now, let's look at an example with a bit of a faster tempo, and this time a straight rhythm. As explained previously, the way the chord patterns are organized is that the second half is for straight rhythms. The first rhythm from that second half is the same as the first rhythm in swing rhythm, which is that the chord is triggered on every first beat of new measures. You can see that the comper is now operating in a different eighth note feel, as the eighth note output is now even and you don't have that swing feel that you had in the previous example. Hopefully you can hear that a humanized bass gate sequence is different now that the feel is straight. You have a much more popular bass rhythm, but you also keep the humanization by simulating variations with random changes in that rhythm. Now, throughout the video, the comper has been operated in 4/4 as the time signature, but the comper can work in two other time signatures, which are 7/8 and 3/4. In this patch, we'll only hear the chord and the bass output. You can hear that the bass is now a recording of a double bass, in order to make it more clear how it varies and to hear the difference in time signatures. So right now we're in 4/4 and we're in swing rhythms, so the bass is a walking bass and you can hear the small variations on top. Now I'm gonna move the knob up to the second half so that we have 4/4 straight rhythms. And once again, hopefully you can hear that the bass adopted a different gate sequence to match the feel of the music in straight rhythms. So 4/4 is the most commonly used time signature and it's the go-to if you want a quick jam. But the comper also operates in 7/8. I've just switched it with the time signature switch and hopefully you can hear that it's much more jagged and shuffled feel as there is one eighth note removed from every measure, so it seems like it's rushed. You're probably hearing that the bass also adopted a different rhythm that matches the style of 7/8 music in straight rhythms, as there are no swing rhythms in 7/8, no matter where the knob position is. It's good to note that 7/8 is the least common time signature available on the comper, as 4/4 and 3/4 are widely spread and almost 99% of the music you're hearing nowadays is either in 4/4 or 3/4. And speaking of 3/4, if we go down using the time signature switch, we'll be in that 3/4 time signature. Now, in 3/4 the knob will operate the exact same way as if it was in 4/4, in that the first half of the knob is dedicated to swing rhythms, while the second half of the knob is for straight and pop rhythms. As you heard, when we switched to straight 3/4 rhythms, the bass pattern adopted a different one to match the 3/4 feel, whether it was swing or straights, as it is a different feel. 3/4 is usually associated with the waltz music, and the comper has rhythms that matches that waltz feel, as you can hear now. Hopefully this gave a much better understanding on how the comper operates and organizes itself in 3 different time signatures, and shows how the bass output both adapts to the time signature but also the chord pattern that the user is on. Now, we'll very quickly go over how to change the clock resolution that the comper operates at, and for that we need to turn our system off. Now, it is better to fully unpatch the comper before turning the rack back on, as it might get in the way of the combination that needs to be done. The first step is to turn the time signature to 7/8, which is the middle position. Secondly, you need to turn the knob fully counterclockwise. And finally, you need to hold both buttons as you turn the rack back on. To indicate that you succeeded in entering the mode, the comper will blink its LEDs constantly until you set the new clock resolution and you get out of that mode. To set the new clock resolution that you want, you can use the table shown on the video, but basically you need to use the time signature switch, where the top one is 24 ppqn, middle one is 6 ppqn, and the bottom one is 4. Now, to get out of this mode, you need to turn the knob fully clockwise to its fullest position and hold the 2 buttons to exit the menu. The comper will stop flashing to indicate that it's out of the menu, and it will save the clock resolution to the time signature position that you set right before exiting the menu. And that's all the basic things you need to know to properly operate the comper module. It's an exciting new instrument that hopefully will bring more focus on polyphony in eurorack, but also on discovering and exploring different time signatures musically, as it is a deep and very musically coherent tool for composition, even within modular synthesis. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and that the examples and explanations were clear. You can find more information on the NOH Modular Comper itself in the description of the YouTube video, both for its availability, but also if you're interested in reading the user manual to know more about the module. Thanks a lot for watching.